early on. Ferguson. This is LAUDRUP. Still LAUDRUP. Well, it's drifted behind. Having done what seemed like the hardest part of the job, he couldn't provide the cross to create the chance.
Well, this is what I mean. He just drifted wide to the left, and to be fair, Ian Ferguson picks him out beautifully. One against one, what he thrives on. Skips past Galloway, and just when you think he's picking someone out, well, there's a novelty for you right away. A LAUDRUP cross that goes aimlessly wide. You don't see that happen often. He's got good quality.
A suggestion that the tension can get to even the most talented.
Well, it was a warning to Celtic as well, Martin.
Forward by McLaren, who actually started at his first club, Hearts, as a right back, which is where he's playing tonight. Robertson. It's been something of a transitional season for Rangers, but despite that, they've marched on at the top of the table. They had an awful August, of course. As Andy was saying, Celtic came here and won. They went out of the European Cup straight away out from Athens. They went out of the League Cup here at home as well. 3 home defeats in a week. And the signs were not so good for the Blues. Everything here, including the artificial track around the outside, is blue. You wonder one day whether they'll get the grass blue as well.
You bet your life they've tried it.
Header by Boyd. O'Neill tucking in behind him. Firing it up to Walker, but Walker's on him in a flash. As Boyd is now into the back of Miller.
Well, in the Premiership in England, Mark, that's an automatic yellow card. Just takes young Charlie Miller, Tom Boyd. But perhaps referees a little bit more lenient north of the border.
Miller, 18 years old already, a Scotland under-21 international. Bags of promise. Stuart McCall takes the free kick. But again, they've got to be more precise without Mark Hateley in that type of service up into Celtic's penalty area.
Yeah, the major threat from set pieces there, Richard Gough. Brian O'Neill really was so close to him, not giving him an inch of space.
Middle of Brian McLaughlin, who's a jinky winger on the left side. Tommy Burns has got a crop of promising youngsters, although he's left 1 or 2 of them out tonight, understandably. But McLaughlin has been selected, and he's got Stuart Gray playing behind him. McLaren with a throw. Jury, enigmatic. Can be a match winner, there's no doubt about that when he's really on his go. Off alongside Walker once more. Here's the Dutchman Houstra, who's shortly to go off and earn a fortune, if not perhaps fame, in the Japanese league. Miller's just pulled away to the right to get away from O'Neill. Plenty of players back for Celtic to cope with the slight glimmer of danger.
Well, that was better from Celtic. The defending was better, Mark, but when the ball was played to Andy Walker, they had 2 players at last caught him up. He's got a tough job on Andy Walker tonight. Because if Celtic do have to defend at times, and when the ball's played up to him, he's really got to keep a hold of it.
Here he does now, and make sure that Celtic keep possession. That's Galloway. Whether he just saw Colin Scott moving out, anticipating a cross, and there was a gap there that he decided to try and exploit.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Colin Scott did move away to his reach. How far out he is. Obviously expecting the cross to come. Sometimes that ain't a bad idea. If you get that in target, you might put your side one up.
He's a versatile character, Galloway. He's at right back tonight. And Boyd in the centre. Boyd has been recently the right back. This is this lovely character, Paul Byrne, who's certainly not short on confidence. LAUDRUP. Well, the culprit was Collins, and Jim McCluskey wants a word with him.
Well, again, I think we'd find south of the border. That would be a yellow card, Martin. Sometimes what you get with referees, and it's admirable that Jim McCluskey hasn't shown us a yellow card. First bad tackle, out comes a card, just to let the players know he means business. Not with the referee tonight. He just thinks a stern word's enough. And I'm not going to argue with him.
He's officiated 7 times in Old Firm derbies, so I think he knows his way around. What Miller can do if he gets the ball into feet. Jury operating mostly from the right-hand side. Now that's come across the centre. And it's straight forward for Pat Bonner. We haven't mentioned him yet. He's only just back in the Celtic goal. It's his 3rd game. And he's been unbeaten in the previous 2. That was Galloway on Robertson. I think it's time for a card from Jim McCluskey, a booking for Galloway.
Well, he pops off the ball and goes to look for the 1-2, and he just body checks him like Galloway. I don't think he can have any arguments with that. I think what he's saying to the referee is, that's my first free kick that I've given away, and you let my other 2 teammates off.
The Frenchman Basile Boli has come up. McCall.
I'm a bit surprised there. I thought with the space that Stuart McCall had when he received the ball, it was certainly worthwhile just pulling the trigger. This early in the game, I think that's the thing that surprised me. No one's really been prepared to have a shot. Look at the amount of space he had. Time to look up and assess it. I just think early in a game of this importance, with nerves at a maximum, it's worth having a go early on.
He has been a consistent figure in changing season for Rangers. Stuart McCall, good pressure by Miller. O'Neill, and the linesman indicates there that it's going to be a free kick to Rangers, and
it's a good as well. Yeah, I don't think, again, Brian O'Neill was so blatant. You watch him here, no intention of going for the ball. He's looking at Miller, look at that. And I don't think that Brian O'Neill can have any argument with that one either.
He seemed to know he was losing the race. And now he has to defend under the extra handicap of having a booking against his name. What can Rangers do with the free kick? They tee up Ian Ferguson. Slipped as he hit it. Well, it's one-on-one here. If Walker can get going, the pass has just taken him wide away from David Robertson. McLaren. That's McStay. And again, that desire to please, perhaps attention in the way he approached the ball rather than relaxing it and striking it cleanly.
Well, it wasn't dealt with very well. Al McLaren got in a pickle, used his wrong foot there, trying to clear a ball, didn't do very well. It dropped nicely for Paul McStay, and he's a good striker of the ball, but perhaps even a man of his experience suffering a little bit from early match nerves.
Collins. He's been a bit of a thorn in the Rangers' side in terms of Celtic goal scoring in recent Old Firm encounters, particularly from free kicks. Hasn't had an opportunity yet to show off his repertoire. O'Neill in strongly. And again, to beat Jury to the ball.
Well, even in these early moments of the game, Mark, you can see why Celtic have been difficult to beat. Haven't won as many games as Tommy Burns would like, but they've drawn an awful lot because they do get men back behind the ball and they do make it very difficult for sides. problem is when that happens, when they knock it forward like that, 40, 50 yards ahead of them, it really is tough for Andy Walker to get it down and keep 2 or 3 players out of it while his teammates catch play up.
They do have 2 forwards on the bench, Charlie Nicholas and one of the youngsters, Chris Hay. Should Tommy Burns need to change it later on. Stuart Gray, now McLaughlin. Collins is in there, McLaughlin fighting for it. Rangers standing firm on the edge of their own area. Space for Jury to move into. Laudrup's cross. And the earliness of it troubling Galloway.
Well, had he missed Galloway out, then Charlie Miller was totally free behind him.
Both Goff and Bowley coming up. Laudrup with the corner. Retrieving done with typical earnest endeavour by McCall. Miller. Big appeals for handball from the 7,500 Celtic fans.
That's what the referee's given. He makes a good run. Looks himself a good target for Stuart McCall, but just skips away from there. Just there, I think it brushes his hand as he controls it at first.
Taki Bonner, who was given a free transfer by Lou Macari at the end of last season and was set to join Kilmarnock, who were then managed by Tommy Burns. There's been some word on the grapevine because the move was put on hold and Bonner has stayed here for Burns at Celtic. McStay. Paul Byrne. McCall going in. Absolute grim determination to make it his. Jury. And making a bit of luck for himself and still going. Gordon Jury for Rangers. Well, everything being done at 100 miles an hour. The fans dictate the tempo, really.
Well, in the game, the players are just trying to make it difficult for their opponents to play.
It's Byrne tucking back in on the right-hand side, which I'm sure Tommy Burns will want him to do. Boyd, current member of Craig Brown's Scotland squad. Celtic in no hurry to take the throw. Rangers trying to squeeze them into the corner here. Goff wins it. Out by O'Neill, but no one to aim for. And John Collins looked round. A little gesture of annoyance with his centre-back not playing through midfield.
Well, I think early in the game that Tommy Burns won't be too bothered about that, Martin. I think it's vital in games of this importance that you don't give anything away. I understand what John Collins is saying, we keep emphasising, with only Andy Walker up front. If they can play it through midfield with Collins, with McStay, a more patient build-up, and that would be more beneficial to Celtic.
Celtic, remember, have only lost 3 league games, the same as Rangers, but as we've been emphasising, they've drawn too many, really to fuel any title hopes of their own. Although things, as Scottish football fans will learn, can change very quickly with 3 points for a win. Handball by Collins. Played short by McLaren to McCall. Laudrup with licence to roam. This match, incidentally, being transmitted to his native Denmark. Bowley in first for Rangers. Jury trying to do the same in the Celtic half. Very composed there about young Stuart Gray, I must say, at left back. McLaughlin. O'Neill, who is a midfield player by trade, and it showed rather then. McStay. Worth a crack. Hits Richard Goff. Ferguson is letting it funnel back into David Robertson. Something for Walker to try and chase here against McLaren. Down goes Andy Walker, on goes the game, says Jim McCluskey. That was a bit more promising from Celtic's point of view. McCall. Trying to thread it through to Miller. But the run was well read by Boyd.
Yeah, but the Celtic build-up was a good one, Martin. Ball stayed on the ground, they popped a few passes together, and finally Paul McStay got space to go and drive at the back four of Rangers. And that was promising, that was a confidence-building move, it really was. That's the type of football that you feel they've got to play.
Well, it would be easy to say on league standing and current success that Rangers are favourites, but when are there ever favourites in Old Firm games? Results are totally unpredictable. Burn. Stopped by Halstra. Burn annoyed with some of his teammates for not making movements to help him out. Jury. Plenty of bodies for Celtic in the centre of midfield. And they get a free kick as well.
They're working really hard, Celtic, when they lose the ball, Martin. Every time they lose the ball and a Rangers player gets it, then they're one, sometimes two green and white shirts around.
In relative terms, the only way is up for Celtic. They've had a harrowing time. They certainly don't dispute that. But with Tommy Burns at the helm, and plenty of ambition in the boardroom as well. Hope for the future. A good result tonight will certainly encourage the rebuilding. Ferguson.
Look at the green and white shirts back behind the ball already, though, Martin. That was a good break from David Robertson, but they just held it up for a second, and that gave Celtic time to get plenty of people back.
It's McCall's shot set up by Robertson, who'd stayed forward. Here's Jury. Mistake by Gray.
Well defended. Well defended. You say he's more used to being a midfield player, but he showed good defensive ability there. Wasn't tempted to dive in, but at moments earlier, Mark, there was a huge cry from behind the goal. Celtic fans, whether they spotted something, I don't know. As McCall runs there, there's a little tango. Yeah, I think that was it there. I think Stuart McCall's a lucky man that the referee didn't spot that.
Forward from Ferguson's head, wide from Miller's head. Jury deciding to put it in early this time. Galloway coming across from right back. Measured ball forward by Stuart Gray. Very much one from the family tradition. Not only his father, of course, the Scotland international, but his Uncle Frank as well.
You just get the impression that both sides are lacking in the firing line department. Both playing with lone strikers, I would say. Brian LAUDRUP is given room to license to float all over the place. Doesn't really play up front as you'd expect. And with Andy Walker, the lone Celtic striker, I think it's hardly surprising that the opening 23 minutes of this game has been very tight and that the possession is just about even.
Well, it's one up, two wide, and the two wide men are going back into midfield to give both sides five in midfield when they want it.
But then it becomes very difficult then, Martin, if the ball's played quickly forward for the wide midfield players to get in contact. The players, sorry Martin, the players from the central area who you'd expect to go forward, Phil O'Donnell, I don't think he's really been released yet. Perhaps that's something to do with the opening 20 minutes, seeing it out. And Peter Houstra, who you probably expected the three Rangers players to be the one to get forward most.
Well, this is a new experience for O'Donnell, and of course he's only just back from injury himself. Celtic feel that perhaps he played football last season with Motherwell when he wasn't fully fit. They needed him and he was prepared to go and battle for them. He's battling here, but it's gone behind.
Well, that was better. I mean, that's what I mean. That's the type of run that
he can get forward.
Yeah, that Phil O'Donnell does make. That is his trademark for me, that forward run.
And his presence tonight might just have surprised Rangers. Celtic keeping it under wraps that the comeback was on, but they needed him. Peter Grant, Celtic to the core, of course. And he must be feeling very desolate not to be well enough to take part tonight. He'll be pleased with the way his teammates have begun this New Year encounter, regarded in Scotland as perhaps the most traditional of the meetings between Rangers and Celtic.
But another good example there, Ian Ferguson picking up the ball and three green and white shirts around the mark. Again, good pressure.
Here's Gray. Only his third start in the senior side for Celtic. The flag was up for offside, not required because Rangers got the ball. Jury, and there's a break here for LAUDRUP. He's in on goal for Rangers.
Ah, what a chance. And he's so good on either side, Martin. You just fully expected the man to tuck it in. You see him break wide, and Gordon Jury gets lucky because his pass shouldn't really have got there now, I think. From then on, you really did fancy him. Goalkeeper does well, he stands big for a long time. We'll get a better view of it here. Look at Pat Bonner, stands big. Doesn't make it easy for LAUDRUP. But a real chance.
Best chance in the match so far.
Without a doubt. But all stemmed as well. Stuart Gray had bombed forward, Martin, and his pass got cut out, and there was a real big gap there behind him. Unfortunately for Celtic, Rangers got the ball into it very quickly.
I don't know whether Jim McCluskey spotted the flag. If he did and let the game go on, it was a good advantage played as well. Miller with the ball at his feet, and that's a terrific tackle by O'Neill. Had to be absolutely inch perfect. Byrne just taking it behind Goff for a moment, who got back to block the attempted cross. Collins. Galloway. He was clipped by Goff, and Galloway might say, well, hang on, I've been booked. There's the card coming out for Goff as well.
I think what the referee is saying is you made a little bit more of that than was necessary, and I think he's probably right, very much like Gordon Jury did early.
But I said earlier, John Collins has certainly caught out Rangers with some free kicks in the past.
This just, and I say just, might be a little bit too far out, but he'll certainly fancy it, John Collins.
Against the third choice goalkeeper, Colin Scott. There's Collins has got extravagant bend on it, but too much elevation.
I just felt it was perhaps maybe 4 or 5 yards too far out. As you can see, the goalkeeper can get a really good view of that. And I think even that on target would have been bread and butter for the goalkeeper. But put John Collins 4 or 5 yards nearer, and there would be some fluttering Rangers' hearts.
McStay. McLaughlin trying to help him on the left. Gray does give him the right angle. Then McLaughlin involved. It's a throw to Celtic. Gray. Here's McLaughlin. Oh, he made half a yard to get his cross in. defensive header behind from David Robertson.
Yeah, he didn't waste his time. Brian McLaughlin just shifted the ball and delivered it into the box.
McLaughlin and Collins at the corner. Didn't quite go according to plan.
I didn't see the sense in that myself. The Rangers had two players out, very close to the ball. A good opportunity to put a ball into the box and put some pressure on.
Rangers, incidentally, 9 games unbeaten, 23 points out of 27. A run that started with the 3-1 success over Celtic at Hampden, Celtic's temporary home. And it hasn't, in truth, been too homely for them in terms of their results there. A misunderstanding between Graham McLaughlin again. Andy Walker trying to take it on, but the contact was a bit too strong as the cross came up.
Good idea, though.
Area.
Good idea from Andy Walker, Mark. There was plenty of pace on the ball. He just tried to chest it in front of him.
Collins. Gray not quite so accurate with the right foot. McLaughlin. Byrne herring into the middle to join Walker. Here he is. He's going to come here for Galloway. Still Galloway. They're trying to set it up in the centre. Gordon Drury trying to run it out. And Rangers get a throw.
I just get the impression that Celtic are growing a little bit in confidence.
I agree with you, Andy.
The passing, when they get the ball and they elect to pass it, and I think John Collins is having more and more of an influence in the game. It's been crisp and it's been bright, particularly down the left side. Stuart Gray and Brian McLaughlin in tandem, and it's caused Rangers a problem or two.
Well, look just behind our commentary position, in the spectacles there, Tommy Burns. He might be pleased with the way his side are setting about their task, the Celtic manager. And also getting more players forward in support of Andy Walker. McLaughlin. Free kick to Celtic. Foul by McLaren.
Doesn't it seem strange when you see free kicks like that, Mark? There's no cards are whipped out. I have to say I like it.
So Neil trying to guide it on.
Well, he had half a yard on Richard Gough, but Gough really had to make a powerful challenge. He got himself in front, Brian O'Neill, just a fraction as he comes across, and really Richard Gough had to make sure he got plenty of power in there.
Phil O'Donnell by the near post. Almost came for Walker from Collins' shot. Cleared by Miller. Back comes Celtic again. It's a good spell for the visiting side at the moment. McCall, Laudrup, who's let one good